What happens in meditations after Kundalini and third eye activation? A human being is part of a whole called by us the universe. A part limited in time and space. We experience ourselves, our thoughts and feelings, as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of our consciousness. This delusion is a prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires, and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of understanding and compassion, to embrace all living creatures in the whole of nature and its beauty. Albert Einstein. Many forms of meditations are offered these days, all targeted towards achieving the same exact thing, connecting to Source and our true selves. I've been meditating steadily for about 5 years now, experimenting with different ways and styles. About a year ago, through the teachings of one of the great present-day masters, I learned specific pineal gland and Kundalini activation technique that took my whole meditation experience to an entirely different level. Since then I do my meditations daily around 3:30 a.m. and after a few months into it my body and spirit started waking me up without an alarm, all excited to go for it. I sit for about 5 hours and go into lucid dreaming state for a while afterwards. Later, I get up around 8 a.m. to start my day. When I sit up for my mid-sleep meditations I use a mind-fold eye mask so that eyes receive no light of any sort. I also make sure my computer, cell phone and all electronics that have wireless signal are powered off and unplugged every night before I go to bed. I never regret being up in the middle of the night to do this. Not only I get supercharged during these meditations, I also feel rejuvenated and cleared mentally, physically and emotionally, which greatly supports effortless manifesting, constant flow of miracles and my easy breezy happy days. Another side effect of this practice is that all of my senses are now amplified. It's like getting your windshield washed and volume turned up to every amazing thing around. Never have I felt nor seen the beauty like I do now. Never have I experienced music this way. Never have I tasted food, smelled flowers or felt sunlight and sensual touch on my skin like I presently do. How did I live before this? I seriously have no idea. Whether you are a practiced meditator or a novice curious of what is possible, I hope on some level my story inspires you. What I'm about to tell you is way out there for someone who's never experienced such a thing. Yet. I would like to strongly emphasize that none of my experiences are in any way induced. I've never done ayahuasca, DMT, peyote, St. Pedro or any of the spiritual medicine that are known to induce similar experiences in people. Human brain produces all of the chemistry necessary to take our filters down and show us the bigger picture. I simply learned how to do it for myself naturally through mediation. And if I can do it, so can you. Here is a part of my meditation journal. Around 3:30 a.m. Monday morning, during super intense thunderstorm I sat up to meditate. I did the breathing, cleared my mind, used the energy out of the lower centers to activate the upper, opened my heart and must have been sitting up for about an hour now, just seeing colors, bright dots and floating geometric shapes in dark space. It seemed pretty uneventful and I felt my body wanting to lie down. I was taught to stay seated past this point, so although I was a bit bored, I kept sitting up cross-legged with my back against the wall. All of a sudden, literally out of the blue, I started experiencing waves and waves of goosebumps coupled with heat and intensely overwhelming emotion of love, a sensation so strong it almost immediately moved me to tears. My breathing went heavy, heartbeat rapid, the waves of goosebumps and heat were getting stronger and stronger and stronger, yet I could feel sweat rolling down my body. Then the body started shaking uncontrollably all by itself, and then I felt as if the back and the top of my head blew open and a wild river of energy went through me, overtaking my entire physical form. I believe I was screaming, which didn't register for me at all. I was later told that I was making sounds unheard of before, but I didn't consciously hear any of it. Yet, I was highly aware of every cell in my body. It seemed like they turned into a cloud of glowing particles held together by intense energy. Then I became aware of my arms and hands that started turning into buzzing and blazing beams of light, and after that, the rest of my physical form also turned into swirling blinding beam of light. Suddenly everything went still and I became completely motionless. I was looking into dark space filled with stars and floating sacred geometric forms. I saw a bright dot appear within blackness. It grew into a circle, getting bigger and bigger, and started pulling me in like a wind tunnel. I left my body and went through the tunnel of light. After the tunnel I found myself floating in the vast dark space of no space and no time, so far away from my physical form, it felt like I couldn't move a finger if my life depended on it. Not like I had a finger to move at that point, or any desire to move at all. I just wanted to stay out here forever. It felt so good. Normal human emotions were no longer there. I felt no fear, no anger, no sadness, no worry, no pain, no hurt of any sort. Instead, I felt such tremendous love. I had never known this kind of love existed or was even possible. I felt complete oneness with everything, complete peace and the knowing with 100% certainty that everything makes perfect sense, always. Tears of absolute bliss were rolling down my obscure face somewhere far, far away. I have no idea how much time passed on Earth while I was out there. And then something else happened, something that blew my mind completely. All of a sudden, emerging out of the dark space one by one were the faces and the eyes of the people I knew. I started seeing and feeling every person I've ever loved, every client I've ever worked with, every one of my friends, my parents, my family, both living and passed on, hundreds of people whom I felt individually but also as a collective all at once. An incredible sadness came over me as I could see and feel as my own the whole human experience of these brilliant souls down here on Earth, lost and caught in their struggles and strive and pain and aspirations. I experienced love and compassion towards them of the magnitude I've never consciously felt in this lifetime. And all of a sudden, although I am not Christian, I understood what the whole concept of Christ consciousness that is talked about so much in the metaphysical circles nowadays really means, and what Jesus and other saints and teachers saw and felt for humanity. This understanding was so profound it changed my life forever. No time passed and eventually I was able to lay my body down. I was in a state that I believe is called sleep paralysis. I was aware that I couldn't operate my physical form, I couldn't turn or move my limbs. At the same time my mind was completely awake and all of a sudden I was in full awareness of every detail of the room I was in. I could feel and also smell every object in that room. It almost seemed like I could see the room through my closed eyes and the eye mask too. Regardless of this intensified awareness of the room, I was simultaneously experiencing myself in other places, living other lives in other times, being other people, other beings. It was fascinating as it was all happening at the same time. I had no idea my brain had capacity to process and also remember so many things at once. This was unbelievable. It felt like thousands of years and incarnations went by, but the entire meditation was only a couple of hours long. Forever changed, I was back in my body when alarm went off and it was time to get up and start my day. What I just described was achieved through Kundalini movement and third eye activation technique. I've had multitude of similar experiences since, and I am not alone in this. Many people who practice the same technique shared stories of experiences that are very similar to mine. Maintaining this practice has been incredibly rewarding for me. It lets me observe and clear my subconscious mind. It allows me to see and very much live parallel timelines and my interdimensional lives. It takes me to magical, cosmic, galactic, planetary locations. It shows me symbols, sacred geometry, advanced civilizations, crystal cities, planets, non-physical beings, space and source. It gives me profound understanding of the bigger picture and my purpose. It is assisting me with constantly increasing my healing skills and paranormal abilities. But what I love the most is that it brings me the knowing of who I really am, the fuller awareness of self while in human body on Earth. I get to see firsthand how tiny and often comical my earthly experience is compared to the rest of the big picture of the universe and my soul in it. Having access to this perspective really takes the edge off for my everyday life and things I face on Earth. It gives me a new level of peace, trust, confidence and bliss. I know nothing else more rewarding than this. From where I presently stand, I invite you to seek out the teachings on pineal gland and Kundalini activation. I invite you to deepen your meditation practice and to work towards connecting the dots for yourself on a whole different level. There are many great teachers offering powerful techniques. Find the ones who resonate with you. Once you've learned the technique, the rest is just intent and practice. Your spirit will support you every step of the way, and when you get there your life will never be the same.